Hello.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
doing well. How are you?
So good. Thank you for having me on. I'm really
Of
excited.
course, thank you for joining me. I have introduced you, but can you please go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Lou Schieffelin. I am currently Miss Winter Park USA, competing for the title of Miss Florida USA.
So I have to ask, Florida USA is July 5th through 7th.
It
Miss
is.
USA starts at the end of the month. What is going through your head? What went through your head when you found out that the dates were so close together?
You're so right. It's 18 days. That's all the Florida winter has. Um, but for me, honestly, that was a really exciting opportunity because, like some other girls we've talked about at the seminars, we'll be fresh and ready and so excited and on such a high. But for me, I am actually a pilot in training. So when I'm in the sky, I have less than 18 days to make a decision. So I feel like I'm used to making really quick choices in the sky, so 18 days is plenty of time. Hopefully, if we get to bring home the Florida crown.
What encouraged you to become a pilot?
I actually have two grandfathers. One was a fighter pilot in World War II. He flew B-17s, and then my other grandfather was a paratrooper in the Army. So aviation has kind of always been in my family, and I was actually going to attend the Air Force Academy to play volleyball. I was committed and everything, and then unfortunately had an injury. So for me, the air being in the sky is unlike anything else.
That is really cool. So you also are an entrepreneur on top of being a pilot. Can you tell me a little bit about your entrepreneur expertise?
Sure. So I recently founded a workshop called Red Flags Run, which educates young people on how to stay safe online. As you and I know, social media and the internet is going nowhere. It's just getting even more advanced. So keeping our kids educated and, as we like to call it, being red flag ready, is something I'm really passionate about, especially as we see an influx in AI and just socio and technological advancements.
So pageantry is nothing new to you, and this I don't believe is your first time competing for Miss Florida USA, correct?
So I was blessed to be the teen winner in 2018, and that was such an amazing experience. There was about 100 girls that year competing. I think it's one of our biggest years we ever had. Just because of the new directorship that came on at the time, it drew a lot of people in. It was a really exciting year. So I was very humbled to win on my first try for teen, but this will be my first try for the Miss division. So I'm very excited.
So what encouraged you to even join pageantry in the first place?
So my mom was actually a strawberry queen here in Florida, which is like a very big county pageant. She grew up in Lakeland here in Florida, and so she got my sister and I involved in the all natural, no makeup, Miss American co-ed pageants when we were really little. And since then, I kind of took it and ran with it, got a lot of wonderful scholarship money and opportunities, paid for my whole college education. You just get really involved in your community and it becomes really addicting. So for me, I stayed involved. My dad says it's pageant crack. That is not to be taken out of context, please. But I feel like once you get involved in this community, you really do see how wonderful it can be, and there's no way I'm leaving anytime soon.
I love that. Your father very much is on something there, and you are right.
Yes,
Once you get into pageantry, it is addicting. It's a very expensive one, but it's totally worth it. So
indeed.
you just said that you competed for Florida Teen USA. You won on your first try out of 100. What do you wish you had known before jumping into kind of that world? I know that the American co-ed system happens to be a bit smaller, and you may have competed in smaller systems as well, but what's something that you wish you'd known before, that first try?
I think the community, especially online, that surrounds the USA system is like livid. It is just so exciting. There's so many fans internationally that really follow the USA system. As we've seen in the recent days, there has been international response to everything happening. So for me, I was not expecting the people cheering me on when I went to Teen USA. I wasn't expecting the amazing fan base. So that was a really exciting unforeseen attribute of competing at USA, but also how much you stay connected with the girls that you do compete with. And we like to say compete with, not compete against, because it really is sisterhood. Um, but I'm still in contact with so many amazing women with Alabama, Tennessee. Alabama just had a sweet baby. So for me, it's just staying connected with all the girls across the country.
I love that we also call our sisters by their
Yeah,
state names. When
I
we
know.
go to nationals, you just know them by their. It's just and it sticks too.
It
So
does.
if anyone that's watching has not gone to a national or competed at a national pageant, when you do go, just know that you're going to remember all of your sisters by their state name. You'll know their,
Exactly.
but they're forever their state
Well,
name.
because that's how they refer to us when we're at the pageant. You are Florida, you're Georgia, you're Tennessee. They don't remember our names, but we do. Deep down, we know everyone's names.
It's it's so much fun. So, why is it that you chose to compete in the USA system to start with?
So my mom was actually involved in the MAO team organization. She was a sponsor and on the board for a very long time. I was a part of the Princess program growing up. So that was such a wonderful experience and memories that I have from MAO. But just going through that, knowing that maybe it would be a conflict of interest, and I respectfully never had an onstage talent. There wasn't the speech option before. So being an athlete my whole life, I really didn't have a talent to portray on stage. So Miss USA seemed enticing for that reason. But also I think just the opportunity to go to Miss Universe, I think is just a dream for a lot of young women. And that starts at the USA system.
It truly does, and it's really interesting. There's not a Miss Teen Universe for the USA team to move on to. Maybe someday that will
They
crop up.
should.
There is a system that's called that, but it's not at all tied to Miss Universe. So that would be an interesting thing to see happen in the future.
You're
But
onto something there.
you never know. You never know. So kind of jumping into, you've kind of mentioned it, what is happening recently. So do you find it difficult to kind of focus in and buckle down on your preparation for Miss Florida USA with all that is currently going on with the Miss USA system?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I think just as humans, you take a beat, you sit in your thoughts, and you really think through the commitment you're making and who you're committing to. And for me, knowing Noelia, I was blessed to be holding her hands when I was crowned Miss Florida Teen USA. So I've had that really intimate moment with her. And my heart absolutely breaks for her and Uma. So I can't imagine what they're going through. I feel for them as women, as competitors, and how much they've put into it. But my heart truly is committed to what Miss USA has stood for the past 72 years. And my hope still rests in that, and that the mission will continue to be the same. But I definitely did take a second and, reach out to some of the other competitors this year for Florida USA, just checking in on people, just checking people's spirits. Like you said, it's tough to see everything happening and not know the direction that your dream is necessarily going in. But I am faithful to this organization because I'm a product of, what they've built me into be also as the teen. But first and foremost, I'm wanting to commit to represent Florida. I am committed to serving Florida. So whatever happens at the national competition is completely out of my hands, in God's hands, and someone else's hands. But the honor would be to represent my state that's really shaped me into who I am today.
And knowing that you were the teen, did you feel any pressure to come back and compete and be Miss Florida USA?
That's a good question. There's definitely a little bit of extra pressure, I will not lie. Especially having won on my first try for teen, I think just naturally that's bound to be in place. But more than anything, I've seen how committed girls have been to really acquiring this title and being able to represent their state. So whether it happens on the first, second, third try, at the end of the day, the dream remains. And, I'm just excited. I've never really been in a Miss category for a pageant. So this will be a new experience. I've taken quite a hiatus, not gonna lie.
I did the same, so I actually fully understand. I think once you've been a teen title holder, you almost kind of get it out of your system
Right.
for a little bit, and you want to be able to move on and do something else, and then the pageant bug comes back and bites you.
Oh my gosh, does it?
So, how are you preparing yourself differently from teen to Miss, and how are you kind of working through that transition
Mhm.
mentally?
I think for me, the reason why I took 6, 7 years off was because I really wanted to feel like a miss. I wanted to look like a miss. I wanted to be able to really represent that older age category, especially now that there is no limit. So it's really needing to feel like you're proud of who you are, what you stand for, your values. Um, so for me, the mental prep happened over those 6, 7 years, and emerging out of my little teen shell and now presenting myself as a full woman. Um, I'm proud just to be so confident and secure in who I am and the things I stand for that the mental prep has been a breeze. The wardrobe, don't get me started. That has been fun, really fun, because I'm like, oh, I'm not a teeny bopper anymore. I can be a little sassy. So it's a whole new shopping experience with my mom and my sweet coaches and everyone. So it's been a ride already.
I love that you use the phrase teeny bopper too. I think that's like a pageant industry phrase because it's something I've always used. It's something I've always heard so I just love that phrase. And you mentioned the shopping and the look
Hmm.
aspect of it. And I think there is somewhat of a challenge migrating from what your thoughts are and what you should be wearing when you've only been a teen title holder to what to wear as a miss. So what's one of the
Hmm.
biggest challenges that you've faced in the process of picking out your wardrobe?
I think for me, I've always been more on the conservative side of dressing in general. So having to push myself a little bit out of my comfort zone and maybe show a little leg, give a little slit, not wear a one piece or wear a one piece. It's like kind of just the decisions on at the end of the day what's going to make you feel like a woman and make you feel the most beautiful on stage. But it is definitely a thought like, okay, maybe wearing pink because I'm such a girly girl might not bode well in our favor. Maybe we have to go more deep mauve, black, kind of fun colors, but a little bit more on the older side. More mature.
Which and it's so interesting now because so many of the teens I feel like they look like they could be a miss. I don't remember that being a teen, that being a problem, or that being something I thought of frequently. But now almost teens have to figure out how to look like teens too.
Right. We're all trying to meet our age, but at the end of the day, it's the personality that shows the age and the maturity. So I'm grateful for that.
So for you, being Miss Florida USA is obviously something that has come with the idea of serving.
Mm.
So what do you hope to do and what do you hope to accomplish as Miss Florida USA?
Yeah. Well, so when I was a teen, I was able to help pass a law in the state of Florida that ended texting and driving. So unfortunately, 11 teens per day die in a car accident from texting and driving. So I was really proud to be able to work on both sides of the aisle in the Florida legislature to help pass that law, make it a primary offense. Transitioning to Miss, standing in front of the Florida House of Representatives and with our Florida Senate, that really is just a continuous dream of passing another law, passing another bill to protect Floridians. And, my platform has now transitioned to protecting children online. And so I'm really proud to be a Floridian that the Florida legislature actually just presented a bill that could increase the age to 14 as a minimum to create a new profile on social media. So partnering with our Florida legislator potentially as your hopeful next Miss Florida USA, and even just starting the conversation about.
Hold on, I can't hear you any longer, so I'm not sure what happened. Hmm.
Oh, is this better
Yes,
now?
now I hear you.
Okay. But just to continue that mission, and I felt really comfortable speaking in front of these very impressive bodies of our Florida legislator at such a young age. So I'm now even more empowered to go back and hopefully pass another bill and save some more Florida lives.
Why is online safety for teens and kids so important to you?
Growing up, I've been in the fashion industry for the past 15 years, a professional model. My mom was a supermodel. She lived with Tyra Banks and Cindy Crawford and traveled the world and lived the dream. When I go back and look at her photos, she absolutely lived the dream. But for me, growing up in that industry, I saw some really scary and unsafe things online, and it got exponentially more dangerous the older I got. Um, so for me, just witnessing situations personally, but also hearing stories from my friends who are of age, 21 and older women who know better, who are aware, who know what's scary, and that not everyone who's out there wants our best interest. They were still experiencing these things. And the average age of a new user is only 12 years old, which is staggeringly low, in my opinion, very scary. I was not ready for all that the internet had to offer at 12 in middle school. So I think just making online safety and online safety education cool again, hopefully coming from a peer to be able to share, my experiences, and that not all of us are protected all the time, no matter how safe we are, but just being aware of those red flags, especially with how much we are sharing online now. That really isn't going to go away. I don't see it happening anytime soon. So just equipping children with the right tools to protect themselves.
What do you do currently in terms of helping teach children about online safety?
So I am implementing my curriculum into schools, middle schools, elementary schools here in Florida so far. So I'll go and speak to a class, and I'll also give them a pledge. So it'll be a one-page sheet that they sign and their parents also sign, because I do think it's a family commitment, because parents share their children just as much as children share themselves. So I think it's a family commitment. The child signs, the mom and dad sign, or the guardian signs. And it just has our, tips and how to stay safe. And I'm committing to making sure that when I'm using social media, I'm protecting myself and my loved ones. So that's honestly, hopefully, an action item that will help, deter children from sharing too much online.
Is there do you have the honor of being able to go into classrooms and to go into those kinds of settings to be able to kind of make those connections for kiddos?
Yes, I did that a bunch as a teen. I actually authored a book when I was Miss Florida Teen USA, so I got to go and share my book, read my book. It was actually a national campaign partnered with AT&T, because at the time they had a program called It Can Wait. It was a big campaign to have children stop, or people just in general, stop texting and driving. So I was really proud to be able to go into a lot of classrooms. And now, as a Miss, I've actually started to re-enter those same classrooms with those same teachers and different children, and then also be able to meet some of the kids that have grown up since then. So it's been a really wonderful experience. I am looking to do an online big Zoom session for all across the country. I have a lot of friends all over and a lot of mothers who follow me. So their children are interested in also learning, and I'm going to try and do an online session for that as well.
That would be a really cool thing to be able to do. And it's really cool to see the growth and how you've been able to continue on with a lot of the same themes and adapt them as you've adapted to being a miss as well. So as you've kind of gotten through preparation over the last few months, what is one thing that you've really focused on, or that maybe you've been unsure of, so you've given it more attention?
I think my why, at the end of the day, all of us women are obviously hoping to make a difference in some way, shape, or form. And I always like to say data um, is stories with the soul. And so I think we all have a message to share, but my why when I was a teen may have been a little bit immature. You see the gown, you see the glam, you want to make new friends, but I think as a miss, it really has transitioned into realizing the platform that the Miss Universe organization does give us as women. And I'm really proud to continue to fervently advocate for free speech and especially living in one of the most free states in the greatest country in the world, I'm really proud to be able to share my voice and realize how important that is. And I think all of us competing this year for Miss Florida have kind of locked arms and we're holding hands in that mission together.
So as you continue to move forward, you only have about a month and change, month and a half to get things set to have yourself all prepared for Miss Florida USA. What's something you're focusing on within these next few weeks?
I think stage presence, one, is super important. Again, styling, wardrobe. But for me, it's just the inner piece. When I competed for teen, and I know I keep referencing teen, but that's really the only experience I have to go off of. Um, I felt so in my bubble, just so happy with my preparation. And, I've been preparing since September of last year. Um, so I'm just really proud of the growth I've seen and that my team has, supported me through. And I'm honestly just grateful. I'm grateful that it's in 2 months, a month and some change. I'm grateful to the Miss Florida organization because they've been so prepared and they've put on these wonderful seminars for us, where we've gotten to meet some of the sponsors and meet some of the other girls competing and meet with the directors board and everyone in leadership, which I feel like sometimes you don't get to do until pageant weekend. So it's been really nice to put faces with names and build those bonds with the girls instead of only having those couple of days. So I'm really just excited at the end of it.
So when you're thinking about, your experience as a teen, but now looking at Miss and what you hope to achieve as Miss Florida USA or Miss USA or Miss Universe, what is, to finish the sentence, how would you finish, I want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for speaking in the universal language of kindness. I think, especially now, we are seeing how detrimental, it can be to use harsh language or be unkind or not lend a helping hand. So to be a title holder that, proudly represents Florida, to be a girl that just went for it, but to be a title holder that speaks kindly to others and is just as uplifting as she can be, I think that's so important because I don't see a ton of role models out there outside of the Miss Universe organization. My role models when I was little were former Miss Universes, were Miss USAs, were Miss Floridas. So realizing that responsibility is a really big part of taking this preparation so seriously. But more importantly, no matter what happens at Miss USA, taking those 365 days representing a very diverse state even more seriously. So I'm excited and I'm grateful for the opportunity to even be able to potentially represent a state as big as Florida.
And kind of in that same vein, what do you think is a misconception that people have about you?
Mm, I think, oh gosh, I think people think I'm serious, but I'm really just a silly, goofy kid. Like, just underneath it all, I will be the first one to point out my flaws. My dad gave me juggling balls every year for Christmas, so I'm a really good juggler. I'm just a goofy kid deep down. So I don't know.
Okay,
Always the one laughing, making other people laugh, doing my best at least.
so you had a talent, you could juggle.
I guess I could have, maybe we just need to light some flames to them to be a little bit more exciting, but I guess I did have an on-stage talent.
Just throwing that out there because, girl, I don't have the coordination to do that.
Well, 23 years of getting a really cool similar gift every year makes you practice. And my dad's really good, so it's our bonding activity.
Oh my, no, I'm gonna look out for a video of you trying to juggle with like flaming, juggling, whatever's.
Oranges. Florida oranges.
There you go. That can
Look
be
at
like
marketing. Look at us.
when you're crowned Miss Florida USA, that can be like your first video is like you juggle. That would be highly funny, and now I feel like it happened.
Writing that down.
So for you, it's been a journey. You kind of started young, and now you've transitioned into being a Miss. What advice do you have for somebody that's maybe looking at pageantry right now and thinks, it doesn't look like a kind community, or it doesn't look like a community I want to be a part of? What would you tell them?
There's always going to be a bad apple. I think no matter what activity, no matter what organization you join, no matter what school you go to, no matter what you post or how genuine your intentions are, there's always going to be someone maybe looking at you from behind trying to tear you down. I'm sure you've dealt with, maybe some online bullying or untrue things said about you on social media. I think we all have. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it seems like it's part of the title, no matter, you know, you're putting yourself in the spotlight to be criticized to an extent. And I accepted that a really long time ago when I was a teen. And for me, I think the people who deserve your energy are the ones who are pouring into you. Um, so my number one rule is one, you don't have to respond to everything. Not everyone's gonna have the heart that you do, and not everyone's gonna have your best intentions. But I do know the other side of the pageant community, and it is the most uplifting, supportive, empowering, just wonderful industry that I've made some of the best friends ever, ever, best friends in the whole world. And that doesn't just have to be other competitors. That's been photographers, makeup artists, stylists, coaches, siblings of competitors. It's really run the gambit, and people like you who are just so supportive of the community and of the good that these girls are doing. So I'd say just turn the other cheek and look in a different direction, because while there is a bit, of an unfortunate situation happening right now, there's so much good that girls are still doing. There's so many girls in their community pouring into the people around them, pouring into their causes. So I'd say maybe just look in a different direction, because you are bound to run into something wonderful.
And you've kind of already answered it a little bit, but for somebody that maybe is like, why is pageantry still around? Why still compete in pageants? What would you tell them?
Some people ask me this all the time. Why are you still doing pageants at 23? What is pageantry? Why are you doing it? Like I said before, it's kind of addicting. One, you get really hooked on the self-improvement, you get hooked on the community, on the people. But for me, there's nothing more encouraging than standing on a stage, knowing that you have put your absolute all into your preparation, knowing that you have invested in yourself to be the best you can possibly be for that weekend, and hopefully continue it as a lifestyle. And there's nothing more wonderful about making the most genuine relationships that you can at a pageant. So for me, on top of that, it was wonderful to get scholarship money and pay for my education. That's always a winner with the dads when families ask me. And then for the young girls, it is probably the best finishing school we can go to nowadays. So it really gives you a multifaceted look at yourself and what you're capable of, but also the tools that you need to continue to rise throughout life past pageantry.
I think people don't realize that we don't just put on heels, we don't just put on dresses, and we don't just do our hair and makeup. We go through, as you said, kind of a finishing school almost. We learn interview, we learn business, we learn time management, we learn interpersonal relationships and networking. And there is so much that you learn from pageantry that you don't even notice it in the moment that you're learning all of these skills. And then you go out into the real world, and all of a sudden you're already more prepared than probably a good number of your peers.
Truly, I agree with that
And,
wholeheartedly.
and did you find any similarities between competing in volleyball and preparing for and competing in pageantry?
Well, volleyball was a really fun sport for me. I grew about 5, 6 inches my eighth grade summer going into high school, and I could no longer be a competitive cheerleader. I was a cheerleader for 8 years. They threw me 4 stories high, and my poor dad had a heart attack every weekend. So that was no longer an option. But for volleyball, it really was the team effort. One person drops the ball that day, or didn't get a good night's sleep, or maybe had a little too much fun the day before. your team suffers. And for me, being a part of an organization, there are so many cogs in the wheel that we are really encouraged to be at our best for the commitment we've made. Um, because I know at the end of the day, when you are a title holder, you're not just representing yourself, you're representing an organization, your cause, and the team who have gotten you there and lifted you up to be that title holder. So it's a responsibility aspect. But we learn in this wonderful country freedom to vote, freedom to speak, freedom of assembly, but there is really freedom of consequence and acknowledging that our actions do have consequences. And I think that may just be the theme of the week, unfortunately, that there are always going to be repercussions for our actions, good or bad. And so it's just acknowledging that responsibility as a title holder and who you represent at the end of the day. Because Florida's a big state. We have a lot of different people. If you're in North Florida and if you're in South Florida, it could honestly be two different states. But it's an honor to even be in the running to represent everyone here.
What are you looking forward to most walking into the Miss Florida USA week?
I think the aspect of competition I enjoy the most is interview because I get to be my little silly, goofy girl. But on stage, I just love a gown moment. Love a gown moment. I'm so excited. And then I think what people don't expect are the backstage moments. That is when you really see just the camaraderie between women. Butt glue flying, sticky boob flying, someone helping hook a dress, helping a girl in her swimsuit. It really is how candid pageantry gets backstage. So those are always my fun memories to look back on and enjoy and kind of giggle to myself about.
Yeah, you're passing around. Oh my God, I need another back of an earring. You're taking earrings out, you're passing backs of earrings around.
Shoes break. Girls are switching in between competition. It's always a fun time.
So what are you doing to prepare yourself physically in terms of it's a really long and stressful, 4 days or 3 days, however long you all have. And it can be rough on your body. So how are you preparing yourself to make sure that you feel good mentally and physically during those 4 days?
Well, I'm really grateful. Our Florida USA director and executive producer, they both said, please eat. So that's a really nice sentiment coming from our leadership. But I think just eating healthy, I actually have a wonderful sponsor here in Florida who is a female-owned, Florida-based Pilates studio. And so they've been really helping me. Coming from an athletic background, I have always kind of been a little muscly. So they're like, all right, let's get you long and lean and do all these wonderful things. So it's been a different kind of exercise. But for me, the best exercise can just be getting outside. I think clearing the airways, just enjoying the peace. And in Florida, we have beautiful weather, birds chirping all the time. It's a paradise. So I'm very grateful to be able to step outside my door and take a nice little walk if I need to.
I'm very jealous. I'm in the middle of Colorado where it has the weather. Our saying in Colorado is wait 5 minutes or wait 10 minutes and the weather will change. Whereas in Florida, it sounds like it's just you get to go outside and it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm very jealous of that.
It's either that or wait an hour and the rain will be done. So best of both worlds.
I love that. So you are a month and a half away. You are prepared as you can be. Are you able to give us an idea of what your dress might look like, or a color, or a hint of any of it?
I will say sparkly. I'll just drop that. Definitely gives the shimmer.
I love that. So were you guys, I know a lot of states give directive as to what color your swimsuit needs to be or your opening number outfit needs to be. Mm-hmm. Were you all given any directives of that for this year?
We were. So the Florida director, Miss Jacqueline Stapp, the whole team, they actually put together the most wonderful handbook for all of us contestants. Has anything and everything you could ever want. So that's been really fantastic. They've prepared us and limited the questions I'm sure they got asked to. But opening number is silver or gold, swim is red, white, or black, and then gown and interview are up to you. So it's a kind of a mixed bag. There's no one direction and there's not one theme like Miss Florida has had in the past. So it's kind of just going glamour is what was told to us, which is exciting.
So are you able to give an idea of what you chose for a swimsuit?
White.
Ooh.
I'll say the color white,
All
which is
right.
kind of unexpected. I don't know, maybe blondes, but we're gonna try and pull off a white with some light hair. Hopefully be really spray tanned.
I was gonna say, I almost feel like blondes are typically the ones that go with the white dresses and the
Oh,
white suits. At least that's what in my experience has been. So I think you chose a good color.
thank
I'm
you.
all here for it.
Thank you. And we are still a month and a half out, so these things may change. A swimsuit may break or a gown may bust, so you never know. Always have to have backup. But as of right now, sparkly and white.
I'm gonna cross my fingers for you that none of that occurs because
Thank
trying
you.
to buy a new gown or swimsuit last minute is one of the most stressful things that you can put yourself through before a pageant.
So crazy.
No thanks. No thank you. So I know you have quite a bit that you need to do. I know that you're an entrepreneur, you're on your own business, you probably need to go fly a plane somewhere, which is the coolest thing ever.
Thank you.
So we are going to wrap everything up with a
Okay.
quick game of this or that. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. On stage question or interview?
On stage question.
Ooh, why's that?
I think getting the reaction from a large body of people after your interview is definitely very rewarding. But also, I kind of like the unexpectedness of a fishbowl question and just to be able to really give it your go because you don't know what it's going to be. Your interview is off your bio, and I don't know, I like a little mystery.
I'm here for that. Dress or jumpsuit?
Dress. Jumpsuits are a little tough because I'm really long-legged, so sometimes they don't fit me right. They're a little tight.
I understand that. I'm 5'8", so I'm not exactly super tall, but apparently I have very long legs for the jumpsuit world.
It's tough. It's tough for us.
Underdressed or overdressed?
Overdressed, overeducated, overexcited, all the overs. You can never be too much.
I love that. That is the definition of extra, and I believe
Yeah.
that everyone should be extra.
Why not?
Why not? City or countryside?
Countryside. I grew up in New York and Connecticut when I was little. My grandfather owned a ranch in Florida, third generation cattle rancher. So for me, I always had way more fun in my little cowgirl boots getting dirty in the mud. And that will stay true till the day I die. I will find peace collecting cow patties more than walking in the city.
I love that, and I'm absolutely here for it. Swimsuit or evening gown?
Evening gown. There's nothing like a woman feeling just absolute elegance and class walking in a gown of her choosing. I love that moment.
I'm here for that. Vintage or modern fashion?
Vintage. My mom has a whole closet of the clothes that she accumulated through her modeling days. And when I walk in there, I feel like I'm teleported back into Grace Kelly, Audrey Hepburn, just the good old days of fashion. And so I'll always be a vintage girl through and through.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Red or nude lipstick?
I'm a nude. I don't know if I can pull off the red. I've really tried, and it always ends up on my teeth. That's just a real girl moment. So I don't know if that's good or bad or what's wrong with me, but we're gonna go with nude. A little bit less
Okay,
obvious.
I can. It's you have to find the nude with the the red with the right undertone. Like you
Right.
really have to figure out like, am I cool tone? Am I warm tone? Am I? And that can be like,
I don't know, girlfriend. I don't know what tone I got going on. Whatever spray tan that day.
I love that. Actually, that was a good question. Spray tan or no?
Spray tan. I got to. I just have to. I wish I am probably like translucent without a little bit of color. So, and I can't tan outside of Florida, which is really crazy. I will burn like a little lobster immediately. So I got to go the healthy, natural spray mousse tan that I do to myself.
I mean, your skin will appreciate you for that though as you get older, so it's totally worth it.
Wear the sunscreen, kids.
Wear the sun-
There's your ad.
Sash or crown?
Sash. I like to be able to represent the organization I'm with. I know the crown is usually, you can tell, but at the end of the day, it's all about the impact.
All right. Outdoor adventure or indoor experience?
Outdoor adventure, like I said, love any opportunity to get a little dirt on my boots. So I like to see the outdoors and nature. And unfortunately, in Florida, we are a little bit limited on mountains to climb, but we do have some really beautiful springs. So I'll be jumping in those waters soon.
I was gonna say, you get to go kayak and meet manatees, so I am endlessly jealous of that.
That has been one of the coolest Florida experiences I really have ever had. It was pretty spectacular. They're big. They're big.
I mean, they're called sea cows for a reason.
You want to touch them, but you're not allowed to. You just want to kind of cuddle them. They look really cute, but
Ugh.
sadly, it's a no-no.
Ugh. Ugh. Maybe like volunteer at like a rescue, and then you can like bottle feed a baby or something.
Okay, I'm putting that on my hopeful Miss Florida USA bucket list.
And then I will wait for photos of it and be endlessly jealous.
I'll just invite you. Come to Florida. We'll do it together. You're right.
I'm so down for that. You have no idea. All right. Do you rather smile or be more serious in photos?
Smile. Always. I think that's why it was such like a special moment for me when I got my smile perfected by my sponsor, Dr. Marvin Berlin, because I am always smiling, constantly smiling. I'm such, like I said, goofy kid. So teeth all the way.
And then this one is my favorite. I always save my favorite for last. Sneakers or stilettos?
Oh God. This is hard.
I once had somebody say the high-heeled sneakers that were a thing for a minute, and
that is so inventive. I love her, whoever did that. I'm gonna go stilettos.
Okay, option
Stilettos.
C. Ooh, do you have a favorite pair?
No. I'm still trying to find one. I think that's the issue. I just need to order a bunch, try them on, walk around my house, and then send the ones that don't work back. But I'm still trying to find a good heel.
Do you have a heel that you've chosen to compete in, that you've practiced in, or are you still on the hunt for that?
I'm still on the hunt. I'm practicing in a makeshift potential replacement, but still on the hunt for the final shoe.
That is not a typical answer. Usually
I'm risking it.
My heels for years. I are my favorite. You are so on.
Well, I used to wear the tippy tops like everyone else in the pageant world, but then my straps kept breaking off, and that is totally this is not bashing Chinese laundry, but for some reason they just kept falling off of me. So I'm like, I don't know if I can risk that pageant weekend. I may have to find an alternative just as a backup, but I am practicing in my tippy tops. I may just be extra rough on them. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm like spinning, la-di-dying. I don't know.
You know, I've always wondered if people do pop the straps because they crisscross over your feet. If y'all don't know what the tippy tops are from Chinese laundry, they have this crisscross pattern that goes over your toes. I've always wondered if people have those pop off, and you've just answered a question I've always had. So
mystery solved.
Well, I hope you find your replacements. I hope that everything, you find that perfect stiletto. Thank you so much for joining me. Where can everyone follow you on your journey to Miss Florida USA?
Thank you so much for having me. My Instagram at Lou Schieffelin or TikTok at Lady Lou.
I love that. You must have joined TikTok early in order to get the good TikTok name.
Well, it's a couple double letters and underscore, so
all right.
We had to makeshift it a little bit, but still Lady Lou.
I love it. Thank you so incredibly much. Thank you to everyone that joined in, and please stay tuned for our next live. Thank you, Lou. It was amazing to get to know you, and I can't wait to cheer you on in just a few weeks at Miss Florida USA.
Thank you so much, and everyone tuning in from my account, please give this account and these wonderful people a follow. Beauty Queens Galore.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.